Hey, welcome back. This is page 12 of Shrimp the House Recall, part 6. We've spent a good chunk of this day staging this scene. I'm going to go ahead and render it. Let's copy that, and then, oh boy, it's going to, I guess it's going to stall on me. There we go. So we're going to park this here. Whoops, good caps. And let's fix that. Where are the boys? Um, I actually tried to do a video for one of the previous pages in the burger joint. Something about that scene, it just, I had render times that were like up there with the render times for the works I do in 3Delight instead of the OpenGL engine. Plus, I've been using I sort of use newer figures instead of the older Genesis 1 figure that I use quite frequently in this series, or used quite frequently up until probably the last year or so. I it was the 5 people in the background were a mix of Genesis 3 and Genesis 8 figures. And the textures on those figures are usually optimized for 3Delight sometimes and iRay. So they take some tweaking and experimenting and some playing around to get them to look decent in OpenGL. So I thought, so I get to recording, I thought I had everything where it was good. I started recording, and the textures on 2 of the characters didn't look right. Go figure. And of course, with the long rendering times, and OpenGL doesn't allow for progressive rendering like 3Delight and iRay do. It's an all or nothing proposition. I have to wait for the picture to completely render to find out it's wrong. Whereas, like when I render in 3Delight with the muscle growth stories and the shrinking stories outside of this universe, the progressive rendering lets me get an idea of what the picture is going to look like, so I can stop it midway. So it just became a nightmare having to deal with all the little issues that popped up. The long wait times, the constant breaks in the recording. So I just quickly gave up trying to record that. Invert shrink. But it's some of the things I wanted to say on on that scene. Oops. Okay, now we can select none. But one of the things I wanted to say is that like the burger joint is one of those sets I've picked up, and it's one of those rare sets that I use outside the box. Whereas like with a lot of the with all my houses and stuff, um, I'll end up creating the set and sort of decorating it with random pieces of furniture from my library. It was meant to be a one-off. When I first used it, in an earlier Shrimp at the House story, it was meant to be a one-off use. But it's like one of those. It's like such a great locale. I just keep coming back to it. So you noticed it popped up in Burn Pit for a page or so, and then I brought it back in here. Um, no, I do want the head. Currently used. So one of the things I've done is sort of with these characters. I think way, way, way back when I started this. Um, to sort of differentiate them, I used the basic parameters under the head bone. And, when I keep coming to the bone to sort of manipulate expressions and whatnot, to keep from those parameters getting messed with, I hid everything I used to shape the face. So occasionally, like here, like what I'm doing here right now, is I do want to manipulate one of those parameters. So I've got to go into here, click the little menu, go under preferences, and check show hidden properties in order to access them. And now that I've got it, I'm going to uncheck it. And then when I'm ready to reset it, I'll just go in here and delete the keyframe instead of trying to remember where I had it set. So we're going to have like a little bit of hopefully this will be a little bit of humor where Aiden takes offense to. to not being included in the boys comment. Nah, I'm a boy. I'm a boy. When I was working on the scene in the burger place, I wasn't exactly sure if it would fit in the story where I was working on it, or if I would end up. No, I gotta undo this all the way back. I wasn't sure if it would fit where I was working on it in story, pages 10 and 11, or if I would end up swapping it with this scene here and move it to go after the dinner scene. But one of those, I think the way I think the way I kind of wrapped up the conversation sort of leads nicely into this scene. Oh, good, I get Allison in the scene. Oops. There we go. And actually, before I cut that, I think it's a little too far over. There we go. So over here we see David standing on his books. Oops. Layer image size. Wow. And I'm still, like, in my mind, really wondering how long this story is going to be. Because here I am, halfway through this part, and so far I'm still on the day that I started with. Here we are, so far 12 pages, maybe 13 or 14, just on this one day. And it's like I've said in previous videos, I thought the story would get more interesting, or David's part of the story would get more interesting the smaller he got. So, true to my word, here he is at, I think this is 16 inches now, and I'm just stuck on this day. So it's kind of like with a week to go in story. Where's Liz? I'm not entirely sure how much time is going to be allocated to each day from here forward. And like I keep saying, just at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I think the last part is going to largely be a wrap up. Alex officially gets his history grade. Um, Allison's going to be dressed up to go to the dance, and there's going to be sort of a reconciliation where oops. Um, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say it. I mean, I don't think I'm really. I don't think I'm really going to be spoiling anything, but it's sort of like the tie up. It's like the tie up with Allison's story where, David. She gets dressed up for the dance. And David's softened up quite a bit. The moment. Oh my god. The moment where he stops being silly that you kind of see in a lot of the stories. And okay, he says. Um, and two, I've mentioned before, eh, that so I want to show sort of in flashback what Liz knows and when. The idea that through most of this story she's aware of what's really going on. Um, and I'll take a look at it later. I hope it doesn't come off as odd. The point in the point in the conversation at the burger joint where Jackson mentions that she's already mad at him. It's like in a way it is supposed to come out of left field, but I'm hoping that it's like not such a surprise that like you, the reader, are kind of doing whiplash when he says it. Sort of like, what? What? Okay, let's finish this. It's not what your father meant. That's not what you are. Stormed out earlier. Yeah. Usually I will print out the number instead of spelling it. Okay, that wasn't so painful. But I'm definitely not using this box. Let's take this one. And we'll resize this one. Edit, paste as. So it's I kind of have a feeling it'll end up being like my twin no more. You know, where in that story, sort of it took almost the whole last part for sort of everybody to reveal what's really going on. To Brody. I have a feeling when I do that in this story, it's going to be the same thing. So I'm kind of expecting to just devote most of that part. I to the wrap up. And I should probably do what I did in that story, and that is sort of do the ending first and then backfill with whatever space is left over. What's up with those two, but I promise I will have a talk with them later. I also like kind of probably just brainstorming here. I've also said that sort of like at this point in the story, there isn't much left to put on the page with regards to either Alex or Allison's stories. So it's kind of, this is at the part where Aiden sort of takes over, gets a little too grabby. Sort of like with the playground sequence. You know, I think too, probably like in a couple more in story days, especially when he's small enough to sort of play alongside the action figures. Okay, let's. I don't know. Okay, that is, I guess. No, I'm right. Let's move this over a little bit. So that'll like also feed into this idea that I've been wanting to portray and that you saw at the playground, where he kind of looks to Alex to sort of bail him out with Aiden, but Alex doesn't. It's cut. You know, maybe it's one of those like he didn't realize how unappreciative he was towards Alex. Now that he really wants him to be there, he's not. Let's see if I can do. Let's see if I can do this point of view. Okay. Okay. 64. To be 5 more minutes before the chicken comes out of the oven. The only thing I've got to work out um, on the way is how to work that in with sort of the earlier agreement that Liz would be staying home to babysit. I mean, uh, edit paste as. Did I copy that? I am not sure that copied. Oh yeah, it did. Okay, cool. Because earlier in the story, she agreed, sort of like she agreed that she would be staying home only for 1 week. She can, whatever life it is she's got outside the home, she can put that on hold for a week. And going back to how long this one particular day is going in story. I do want to. Excuse. I do want to have one more scene where she's laying into the two boys. The only problem is, in a way, what I want to have her say kind of reveal in story that she knows. Uh, which is leaving me to wonder if I should just go ahead and start the flashbacks now. Start revealing now that she knows. So she's just going to give sort of an exasperated reaction here before he goes into his little speech. I think I'm going to take this one. Oh, shoot. I forgot I had spare bubble in the page before. Oh, actually, yeah, let's delete this one. and delete this one. Because I've already got this one, I can copy that, Control C, edit, paste as new layer, and this will just make it a lot easier. Oh, what just happened? Okay, there we go. Oh, great. We'll use the ellipse to ellipse to kind of indicate a lack of emotional response. It's not, like almost like an exasperation. It's, I don't know though. It's like I'm kind of right there, like where I've got to make that decision. But it's like I'm not inclined to because I kind of want to do more sort of playing with David's size in this part. Whereas so far it's been a lot of exposition, a lot of kind of talking heads, people sitting and just having conversations. See, Aiden gets cut out, so I didn't need to worry about positioning him. Layer to image size. So that's kind of partly what this is, what this scene does, even though it's a lot of talking. I'm sort of using it to like compare him to sort of everyday stuff like the dinner plates and on the chair. Maybe there'll be a scene in the next couple of pages where he's trying to pick up the silverware. Let's save that. Image flatten and export to page 12. We will hit enter and export. Let's drop these in there. Let's find our page. Where are the boys? I'm a boy. That's not what your father meant, Aiden. Our teenagers stormed out earlier. I don't know what's up with those two, but I promise I will have a talk with them later. Since it's going to be 5 more minutes before the chicken comes out of the oven, you go ahead and tell Allison and Aiden what you wanted to tell them. Oh, great. Just gotta fix that. Let's Control Z. We'll undo the flatten. And I'm going to drop this but out of the thin, not over. Okay, dropping that but didn't mess with the text. So we will just go File, Save, Image, Flatten, and export to page 12. And that was page 12. I know it's probably a lot of repetitiveness if you're watching all of these, but I hope you still got something out of it. I do hope you were entertained by that. And if you come back, then I will see you next time.